Ali, I'm going to keep this brief but satisfying, just how you like it.
It's okay, Zamir. I'm all about getting straight to the climax. Hey, Zamir, let's fly into this topic today, AI. We're sniffing something. We're picking up whiffs of changes for sellers, and we want to kind of just talk through that in relation to AI and what's coming this year.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, AI has been a hot topic for the last 18 months or so. But in particular, with Amazon sort of like at the forefront, developing their own products around this and how they're integrating it, we're going to see an impact from that AI on sellers significantly greater this year I think, than most people realize.
Just to kind of help, and I think it's important context. We're not talking about image generation. We're not going to talk about content generation necessarily. We're going to discuss this bit in relation to search, which I think is critical because that's the part that results into in sales. So let's kind of work through that way. Should we start off with the evolution of purchasing?
Yeah, so we're essentially looking at if when it comes to the funnel, the evolution of purchasing, thinking about the search results page, and we know Amazon is using AI to analyze search intent and provide more relevant product recommendations. Examples of this have been things like predictive search, and that's been going on for many years. But what we're now seeing is them taking it to a much greater level. So what we anticipate is that Amazon's going to be looking at customer needs based on things like browsing history, their preferences, their past purchases, but also crowdsourcing that from all users and their search behavior and their purchase behavior. And what AI is going to allow them to do is actually make better assumptions and produce more personalized product suggestions in terms of a search results page than they've ever been able to do before.
And this is interesting. There's going to be an ongoing theme in the discussion today, which is some of the stuff's been happening before. It's just getting beefed up, or they've seen it do well other places. So like TikTok, when you do search on the TikTok platform, it's highly personalized in terms of what you're seeing because they're going through all your kind of like swiping history essentially.
Yeah, you're right. And the biggest challenge for sellers is going to be the fact that what they can't do is what they've done previously, which is just type in a product, their key search term and find out how they're ranking. Because
Mm.
how you're ranking for yourself isn't an indication of how you're being ranked for everyone else. And it's probably
Yeah.
actually going to be heavily skewed because you probably search for your products consistently. So you're going to see a very different set of search results than most of your customers are going to be seeing.
Yeah. All right. So, which is going to come on to like a really important part of that metric discussion that we were talking about as well. So I think this is worth flagging up.
Yeah, absolutely.
Currently, we're going to be we're really big on impressions, right? But you're picking that there's going to be new metrics that we're going to really care about.
Yeah, I think so. Like you're right. So impressions, visibility is what everyone's been focused up on until now, and that's been a great indication of how well you're doing. But now you're really going to want to be focusing in on things like click-through rate and conversion rate.
Yeah, those are the new metrics that we really care about because it doesn't really matter what someone's seeing if they're seeing you and you're getting a good click-through rate. That's the key metric you really care about, and then ultimately conversions.
Yeah, absolutely. So we know that that's what the AI is most likely to care about the most. And so by focusing in on those metrics that we know the AI is going to be driven by, that should improve our ranking under the key terms that we're really looking for. So fundamentally, look at what the AI is going to be focusing on and focusing on that.
Yeah. Okay. And then we could have been seeing some changes in reviews as well, right? So before you would get a whole bunch of reviews and ratings, and then Amazon would just expect you to go through them as a customer to go through them. Then there were tools that sellers could get to kind of get them kind of picked out and make word clouds from things and really understand what's going on. But now it's going to move through to a new evolution of summarized reviews, right? And we're seeing a summary of positive and negative reviews on each product. So how's that going to fit into what we're going to see even further?
Well, I think the next evolution of that is clearly then to say, okay, so people who are searching for a product that did X, Y, or Z, they had this experience. And so I can see Amazon then deciding to personalize the search results based not simply on what their customers' history is, but also what customers like them, what their experience was based on reviews. So if customers with a similar purchasing history to you, I bought similar products, bought similar
Same
brands,
taste.
had negative experiences with a particular
Mm,
product, they're more likely to rank a product that had positive experiences for that type of customer. So they can actually go down and go predict based on the type of customer you are, which product we think will probably better suit you and give you a more positive experience. And that's something we know Amazon is very focused on. It's giving the customer a positive experience.
all right. So then, how does that fit into our main man Rufus, who hearing a lot about, but a lot of positive stuff. Don't know if it's a lot of hype stuff, but maybe a countervailing view that we've got.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of Rufus. It's definitely not at the moment, right? So Rufus is essentially a chatbot that's been built into Amazon's app, and you can ask Rufus a question if you're looking for a product, and it'll give you some search results. The problem I have with Rufus is if I'm going to go look for a product that I'm looking for, say I want to buy some cables, and so I type that in and say, Rufus, show me some cables. Rufus does that, can produce some search results, but the chances are it's a lot easier for me just to type in the cable name and look at the normal search results. We know the consumer psychology on this purchasing journey requires the consumer to go through a degree of research. And I don't think Rufus replaces that need. And so that's not actually where Rufus is probably going to be most useful. I think for me, the power of Rufus will really, where it could be useful is to supplement search. So if I'm looking for a gift for my son, and I tried this, I went into Rufus and said, I'm looking for a gift for my son. And it immediately came back with recommendations without asking me any questions, right? So it didn't ask me what age my son was, didn't ask me what my son was into. These are obvious things. And I think what I'm slightly frustrated about is if I went to ChatGPT and did the similar thing, it would probably ask me these qualifying questions because it knows that's important to get me to the result I want. I'm surprised that Rufus, even though it's in beta, has been launched with at the level it has. I'm quite disappointed, to be honest.
It's interesting because there was a lot of hype around voice, right? There was a lot of hype around voice when that came out, and it turned out to be not so great. So it's kind of like this could go either way. And I think maybe we've been too kind to Amazon and thinking that they'll actually do the things that we're saying, the logical next steps of this. Or maybe they will do it. They got some really smart people. So
yeah, I was going to say, I think that the Rufus will potentially get a little bit smarter, and they'll go down this route of building it into this tool that can help you find some gifts, or better find the type of product you're looking for. It's not replacing search, and it's probably not something that you want to get. I think it's a distraction, to be honest with you. You're right. We were told whenever Alexa launched that was going to replace. This is how people were going to purchase in the future, and it never came true. There are so many projects that Amazon launches that never actually materialize or don't go to where they expected to. That's what they do. They go into things big and they'll fail fast, right? That's their process. And I think Rufus is going to pretty much be another of those that shines bright for a short period of time and disappears. And as a seller, I'm not going to get distracted by it.
I kind of do think as well, it might be one of those things where just by nature, they're going to have to improve it. Like it's just going to get to the point where like ChatGPT will be so far ahead, or things like that will be so far ahead that where it currently sits, it either means it has to get cut or it's going to have to just improve. And by virtue of it just being in the ecosystem, it's going to improve. And it will do what you're saying.
Yeah. The other side of this, I was going to say, is really important to think about it from Amazon's perspective. They wouldn't want it to replace search results because they make so much, they drive so much revenue through advertising revenue through search results through those positions. The last thing they want is a tool that's going to bypass that. So I really think it's got very limited scope. It will be there. I think it will continue. I think it will get better, but very limited scope. And ultimately, Rufus is going to be driven by the same metrics that are driving the search results page. So just focus on optimizing for search results. Don't worry about Rufus. It's really understanding that actually what is being considered are things that are probably not quite as visible. And in particular, Stock is one of the key things we often talk about. And Amazon, when it's going to be, if it's going to be personalizing the search results, it's definitely going to be considering things like stock more. And so I think stock's going to become more and more of a consideration. We are actually seeing this in the US in particular, where the search results page in different regions is being dictated by stock availability more than any other like factor. So considering the fact that the consumer behavior is pretty similar across those most of the US. The only deciding factor on why the ranking is different that we can put it down to is stock. So stock availability, a key factor already influencing results in the US in terms of search results and visibility.
Yeah, that's really interesting because I feel like that kind of taps into this is kind of this broader message that we're saying around how Amazon's always optimizing for conversion, right? So they're constantly trying to optimize this website for conversion, which is the logical thing. This is what you do if you had a Shopify site, you do the same thing. And they're basically just making their site more likely to convert. So they're going to show you stuff that's more likely you're likely to convert on using AI. They're just building that into the back end to make that part more efficient.
I think the other exciting thing to kind of think about is the things that are not necessarily there that might be coming. So these are more kind of like wish list things from a seller's perspective. I think it'd be great if we could have some degree of dynamic pricing based on analysis of competitors and the ability to. So at the moment, we utilize AI from an advertising perspective. You think about it to change the cost per click.
Mm-hmm.
It would be really good if we could also adjust the price or the promotion in line with how we're performing. So our A cost is improving. Could we push our price up in line with that? And so there may, off of Amazon, be more tools coming up and offering AI that allows us to control that.
Mm-hmm.
We know that Amazon, when it comes to categorization, allows for you to be categorized under more than one category. Particularly, you'll know this with ASINs that have lots of traffic coming through them from multiple different sources. I think, again, Amazon's likely to lean on AI to kind of take products out of this idea of categorization and make it more about where the customer experience and making it more dynamic from that side. So I think we'll probably see, reporting wise, the ability to rank under more categories.
All right, Zamir, what else do you have in your wish list of future scenarios?
Well, Amazon's already allowing us to do A/B testing on images, and what will be really good is if that increases and we get more the ability to serve and test more images, more titles, and more parts of the content, and potentially from an advertising perspective, be able to test different images slightly differently as well. Also within A+ content, so things like that. I don't see why Amazon wouldn't allow it, because I believe that the AI technology they're developing will allow them to offer that at a lower resource or lower cost level, to make it more realistic.
So what's the key message here? AI is going to have a big impact, even more impact in 2025, but there's three things that we think are really important. One, don't get distracted by the big flashy PR hype around things like Rufus. They still heavily rely on search for ad revenue. So think about the key things that are going to be more and more important for you. Things like the click-through rate and your conversion rate. Two, stock is going to be increasingly important, so don't lose sight of this. And three, things like ratings and reviews. As Amazon gets better at interpreting qualitative data as well as quantitative data, they're going to start bringing that in as a factor in what comes up in search results.
Yeah, look, AI is really fast moving, so we're going to keep a really close eye on this, and we're going to continuously update you as more and more things come out on this topic. Okay, Ali, I guess it's over now, but it was fun while it lasted.
Yeah, that's a wrap. Short, sweet, just like we promised.